ingeskakel by Greg Plaas en ek gesels vanoggend met Greg Talbot van Tal-Tec en ons praat 'n bietjie tegnologie. Nou dis iets 'n lekker tema om oor te gesels aan die begin van die jaar, want kom ons kyk wat die moontlikhede van die jaar kan inhou. Greg, welkom by Greg Plaas. Ek groet jou in Afrikaans, maar ek weet ons gaan Engels praat.
Dit is baie lekker om hier te wees, Mia. En dis ook 'n lekker nuwe jaar en ons is opgewonde oor die jaar. Daar's baie uitdagings, maar daar's altyd tegnologie wat ons kan help.
That's the thing. When it comes to technology, obviously, it's such a broad thing, but it can so easily be fitted into your life to make life easier. Because I always say we don't work harder, we work smarter. And let's start with the sheep shearing, because it's an example of a simple process in farming that is done in a certain way, but it can be done in another way. So, for someone who might not know, how easy or difficult is it really to shear sheep?
Sheep shearing there's a lot of technique involved with sheep shearing.
Yeah.
And just on the top of it, it's like, no, anybody could maybe shear a sheep. And I've shorn a sheep before, but I've only ever done one a day.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, we just had a couple of sheep on the farm, and because our background was more cattle farming, but I have shorn a sheep, and it takes a lot of it's hard work. So for the professional guys, they've got to bend over, and the back. I just know the back takes a lot of strain when you have to work on the ground like that. And there's a lot of technique. So there's a lot of technique, and that takes a long time to learn that technique.
So it's definitely not as easy as one might think it is, and it's such an awesome example of a practice that can and might be done better with a simple input of technology.
Absolutely, yeah. So with the sheep shearing, what we picked up there and what we thought, how do we pull this into technology, was just the way that the sheep shearer has to handle that sheep that he's not trying to fight back the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's just that position upside down. And a sheep doesn't lie directly on its back. It's just totally uncomfortable for a sheep. And if you watch the sheep shearer, he makes sure that the sheep is always sort of on the back and he can't get a leg onto the ground, because as soon as he does that, then he can right himself.
Yes.
He can push with that leg. Then he's fighting with you. And then you fight him back and you can't shear. So that was the thinking behind that. And so we thought, we need to bring that in, because there's a lot more other little jobs that one needs to do other than shearing. In today's time, the hooves need grow.
Absolutely.
And we need to trim the hooves. So for sheep shearing, for sheep in the Karoo generally, they're walking long distances, so the hooves will wear down. But sheep in a feedlot or sheep on green pastures, those hooves grow and one needs to cut them. And you need all hands on when you cut. You need to hold the hoof and you need to trim.
I can't even imagine. I would like to try someday, but I can't even imagine.
So that's one of the things. And how do we then position a sheep on the ground, or how do you do that? So then we came with this idea. Well, let's make a product. So there's a ramp, because number one, you'll see the sheep shearers are always bending over, and that is strain on
the back.
No.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to work on the ground. That is really, really uncomfortable. So we have a ramp, and that would be a good idea for any business. You want to work at a nice table height. That's more comfortable. You're going to be more productive.
It's true. It's true.
So and the sheep can do that on his own. He can walk up a ramp. You don't have to lift the sheep up onto a table. So again, thinking just a bit smartly. Basic things technology can help us with. And then we put it in a clamp and we tip it upside down. And when the sheep is totally upside down, lying on its back, it doesn't fight. It's there's a give up. So
I've lost
this battle, and he doesn't fight with you. And now you have both hands available. You're working at a comfortable height.
And you can probably do it faster as well to make it
Absolutely.
more comfortable for everyone. What I love about this is, as I stated in the beginning, is how you can take a practice that's been done for years and years, and if you just bring in a bit of technology, how a process can be simplified and made a bit easier. So according to you, this is obviously the way you think, and you are obviously a person, you vouch for technology and thinking with innovation. So why is innovation important specifically, actually more for any type of farming?
So because farming is like the oldest profession out there.
Yeah.
There's habits that people want to fall back on, and that's how it was done.
So my father did it, it's my grandpa did it, that's how we're going to do it.
So one needs to look for new technologies, and you need to embrace the newer technologies. You need to look for them and embrace them. And you have to break the old habit. Yeah. And it's about doing it again and again and again until you get into the new habit. And there's so many different technologies. Just weighing of animals is key today. We need to up our production. Larger scale, you need to scale your business up, scale of economy. But you need to keep your costs down. So labor is a big thing, and you need to look for technologies that help minimize labor, but also have a bigger put-through of product. And this is one of the ideas, is just to better handle your sheep. But it doesn't stop with sheep. There's with cattle and with goats. Goats is now also a big thing, and that's a growing market segment, goats. So the meat is definitely more leaner than sheep. So
in Afrikaans we call it boerbok. Is it a boerbok?
A boerbok is
it the same thing?
Is a breed.
Oh,
it's a breed.
Yeah.
So the boerbok is the white goat with the red head.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's a breed, and that's definitely a growing breed in South Africa, more and more. But sheep and cattle, so that's definitely part of the growing thing of is boerbok. Yeah.
Greg, we're going to continue our chat just now. We just need to take a break. Bly gerus ingeskakel, ons is nou terug. Ek gesels steeds met Greg Talbot van Tal-Tec en ons praat 'n bietjie oor innovasie, tegnologie en hoe jy dit in jou boerdery eintlik al veronderstel is om te implementeer. Greg, we obviously live in a time and an era and where there's almost this pressure where farmers need to produce more with less. How did we get here? That's hectic.
Yeah, it's just that's where we are as a country, as an economy. There are more people. The economy is definitely growing. It doesn't feel like that, but the lower income segment have got a bit more disposable income, and they are buying meat.
Yeah.
They're spending more and they're buying meat, which is very good for the livestock industry. And that's then putting pressure on the livestock industry to produce more. And the resources are limited. Rainfall is always key in our country.
And challenges are bigger.
And challenges are bigger. So we need to produce more from a smaller area of land. And then all these technologies coming into play, which is feed, better feeding, better feed turnover, or the animals must do more with the feed that you are feeding them. And all these technologies come together. So your animals need to be healthy, so you need to be able to trim the hooves, you need to be able to spray and dip them to keep them healthy. Another thing with, just if we come back to our sheep tilt, is it's easy to give inoculations.
Oh, wonderful.
To do an injection, because your hands are free. You're not having to hold the animal.
And protect yourself.
And protect yourself and fight. And if you need to give an intravenous injection, it's easier to do that. Maybe you need to put in an ear tag. It's just much more comfortable, and you can move through your herd a lot quicker. Technologies like lighter equipment that we can just load on the bakkie and you can take it to the herd. So South Africa also been a lot of expanse and extensive farming. We can move to the herd. You don't have to chase the herd a couple of kilometers to your homestead.
Yes.
You can go to where they are. Yeah.
We're at the beginning of a new year, and especially when we look at the livestock industry, what predictions do you think for the year to come? How do you think it's going to look?
So there are challenges on the spending power. So that's going to make a bit of a difference. That's going to put a bit of pressure on the market. We're also coming out, now we've had, I think, 2 years of good rains.
Yes.
So we're coming out of a very dry period pre that. And in the dry period, all the farmers were reducing their stock numbers. We've had now good rains and good for the last year, so they've increased their numbers.
Yeah.
And that's going to have an effect where they now need to start releasing more animals. They've got too many animals on the farm.
Yes.
And that might bring prices down for consumers.
We hope so.
So the consumers hope so. The farmers, on the other hand,
yeah, that's true.
They still want to have a bit of a profit margin there. But that's the economies, and that's supply and demand.
Absolutely.
Foot and mouth is still a bit of a challenge.
It is.
And farmers are going to have to take responsibility for their biosecurity on their farms, look after it themselves. So there's going to be flare-ups here and there, and farmers are going to have to be awake and really be able to manage that to protect their livestock herds.
It's quite wonderful, and I think when it comes to innovation, and it's really an idea that I'd love to plant in the hearts and the heads. Like I said earlier, I think we live in a time where we can't work any harder than we're working at the moment. The challenges are just too big, especially when it comes to farming. So we do have to work smarter. What tips would you give somebody who's sitting with their hands in their head? How can we work a bit smarter?
So there's a lot of info, and there's a lot of magazines out in the market, weekly magazines, monthly magazines. There is so much info in the magazines. Every week there's articles of successful farmers doing certain tasks. There is so much information there. Historically, in the past there's also there's volumes of stuff there.
There's a lot of knowledge
There's a lot of knowledge out there. The older farmers have also got the knowledge, and we need to listen to the past generations. Our newer markets are definitely the previously disadvantaged markets.
Yeah.
They're definitely taking in technology and using technology, starting to use technology more and more. We're definitely seeing that as a trend, and they're realizing also that they need to use technology.
Yeah.
Making a kraal out of thorn bush and using a lot of labor to chase and hold down animals is no longer, it's too that's actually stressful for animals as well. The less human interaction, the better for animals. Animals then also, there's less stress.
Greg, thank you so much. I think your knowledge is appreciated. Thanks, and good luck with the year that lies ahead, and we'll talk again.
Thank you so much, Mia.